Welcome to OctoberFest 2021. Won't you join us?
Welcome back to the Project Gen X podcast. I am one of your hosts, Alan Smith, along with...
I'm the other guy, Big Dave.
And on this episode of OctoberFest, we're going to be talking about the 1984 movie A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, you kind of sent me down a rabbit hole on this one, because you know I love this movie.
You know,
series.
and it was one of those that whenever I first proposed this one, and I told Dave, he was like, oh, we're going to do the series. I'm like, no, we're just doing this movie. And then I was like, we'll probably talk about the series a little bit. And then Dave, like a couple weeks ago, was like, I've been rewatching all the movies. I'm ready to talk about this.
No, what I said was, I watched the first one. It was good.
Yes.
So I watched the second one. And before I knew it, I had watched all of them.
Yes.
And then you sent me over some additional material.
It was Freddy's Nightmares.
I kind of wish I hadn't seen now,
well,
because it didn't hold up.
We'll get to it. So yeah, like I said, Nightmare on Elm Street was released in 1984, starring Heather Langenkamp.
In the credits, it says, introducing Johnny Depp.
It does, but it's not his first movie, though. That's the thing.
I know.
Yes, Johnny Depp is in this movie. Of course, Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger.
Yep.
John Saxon, and Ronnie Blakely. I mean, those were all, Robert Englund prior to this was best known from V.
Yes.
From playing Willie, on V. And now he had done other stuff. Like, you can go back, he's got all kinds of television and movie credits prior to this. But this was the thing that really made Robert Englund.
And it didn't really make Robert Englund until you got to the third Nightmare on Elm Street.
It's true.
And that's where you kind of get what everybody thinks of as Freddy Krueger now.
It's kind of like the Friday the 13th stuff.
Right.
It's not till you get to the third movie that Jason becomes the Jason that you come to know and hate. Yes, and that's again, I think it's in the third one where he finally gets the hockey mask.
Yes.
Yeah, because he's not in. Well, he's got a cameo in the first one, and he's wearing a bag over his head in the second one.
Yeah.
And then he gets the hockey mask in the third one.
The hockey mask in the third one, and it's after he kills the practical Joker that's running around scaring everybody else.
Right.
And
So,
it turns out,
and that's kind of the same thing here with A Nightmare on Elm Street. The first Nightmare on Elm Street movie is a straight-up horror movie.
Yeah, it's a slasher flick.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's not any of the... There are a couple of little quips here and there, but it's not the quote-unquote family-friendly Freddy that we get
the wise cracking,
and the one where he becomes the star of the films rather than the protagonist, or the antagonist, I should say. It's one of those things where this very much, I mean, and it also deals with like generational trauma.
Yes.
Where it's the sins of the parents coming back on the children, and
yep.
Which is part of the reason I say that this is such a good Generation X movie, because it's the sins of the boomers coming back on the Gen X of, oh, you did this and now we have to pay for it, okay?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Because we always got to go Gen X whenever we start talking about this stuff.
Well, the name of the podcast is the Project Gen X podcast. Yeah, so it's very much look at what you did that we're now having to foot the bill for.
Exactly. And it's that whole, what was that T-shirt that I sent that picture of the other day about respecting Gen X.
On Instagram?
And
you sent that on Instagram?
Somewhere. Where it says, respect Gen X. Respect Gen X, we survive the boomers and we put up with the millennials.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And, middle children of history again, But, so this is, again, this goes back to the whole, you're having these nightmares. These kids are having nightmares.
Basically night terrors.
And it's is it real or is it just some kind of psychosis?
Because he starts out to where he's not even really cutting on him yet. He's just literally winding him up and toying with him.
That scene early on in the alleyway which I know that the special effects look pretty rough now, where he puts his arms out, and it's like his arms grow all the way out. He's walking towards her.
Yeah.
There is something still very eerie about that scene of and I got to give it to Wes Craven. The Freddy stuff in this movie particularly is very dreamlike.
Yes.
There is. He did a really good job of having those weird, like when what's her friend's name? Tina. When she falls asleep in school and she walks in, or is it Nancy walks? It falls.
Nancy falls asleep in school because Tina's already dead.
That's right, and she
point.
Walks into and she sees Tina's dead body
in the body bag. Clear body bag.
I know it's weird,
which is a little weird.
If I'm remembering this correctly, or maybe this is my headcanon, doesn't like a lamb or a sheep like walk by in the hallway or something like.
I don't remember.
Maybe it's just my
all.
headcanon that I seem to remember there was like it was that weird stuff that happens in dreams where it's like
like
this is
random,
completely like why is this happening?
Random crap just happening.
At least that could be how I remember it, the whole Mandela effect thing. I remember it this way. It was an alternate.
I don't remember that, but sure. Okay.
It's funny because like I didn't get around to rewatching this recently. I've watched it relatively recently, but not like in the last couple weeks. So I again, we all have our headcanon of stuff of I remember it happening this way, and no, I guess it really didn't. So, what are you looking at, my tattoos?
Your tattoos.
Yeah, well,
I still really like that pumpkin.
Oh yeah, that one.
I would almost like to have like a skull version of that one.
Yeah, well, I know somebody that can hook you up on it.
Yeah, but it's almost more punk rock not to do it now.
I know. You keep saying that.
Well, it's true. I saw a 70-year-old with grandmother with a shoulder tattoo the other day.
I know.
Kroger.
I see all that stuff all the time.
And I'm like, that's not punk rock.
I've said it so many times. It goes back to the Jim Rose talking about in 1991 when the Jim Rose Circus went out on the road with Lollapalooza. All the piercings and the tattoos and all that stuff was completely counterculture. Yep. Now
it's mainstream.
Your next door neighbor's teenage daughter has a tattoo and a belly button ring. It's
just
all
mainstream.
Exactly. So
I'm like, there's a couple that I'd like to have. The wife isn't really big on them.
She did give you permission. I was there. I witnessed it. So
good luck having that hold up in marital court.
I can tell you exactly where it was, what the situation was, and everything. So,
but
sorry, anyway, I'm sidetracked. So,
it was kind of a rough night last night, so I'm easily distracted today.
My ink is distracting today. Excuse me.
That's what you get for smoking crack.
Oh, no. This is what I get for having allergies in Tennessee. This is back to the water boy. It goes back to LT's next lesson. Don't do crack. Just funny coming out of Lawrence Taylor's mouth.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Back to Nightmare on Elm Street.
But it is
Squirrel!
It is a very dreamlike movie.
Yeah, it is.
Especially like when you get to the end of it, that final sequence, the way that it's shot, and the whole like, hey, what's going on here? Which was not the original ending. The original ending was going to be just they drive off, everything's good, type stuff. But then they were like, hey, why don't we set this up if we want to make a sequel?
Yeah.
And I think if I'm not mistaken, that New Line Cinema went to Wes Craven and said, we need to reshoot this ending, make it a little more ambiguous to where we know,
whether we're going to do this or not.
We could come back in. And it's one of the things that New Line Cinema was known as the house that Freddy built, because it really was. This movie was huge.
Oh yeah, major huge.
And unexpectedly huge.
This movie is what allowed New Line Cinema
to exist
and to make a lot of the movies that they've made since then.
And
they're still making money off of these movies in just the merchandising.
Does New Line Cinema still exist? I don't even know anymore.
I think so.
Because I know there was a whole thing with Wes Craven and the rights, that kind of went back and forth, and he was out for a while and came back, and you can tell the ones that he's not involved in, which is basically 2, and then everything after 3 until Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Which I've got some thoughts and comments on New Nightmare.
We're going to get to all those here in a little bit, but the kills in this thing are brutal, though.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like Tina, the whole thing with her, like, she's asleep and she's in bed with her boyfriend, and she quote unquote wakes up screaming, but then she starts climbing up the.
She didn't climb up the walls.
She's drugged up the wall.
She's on her back,
yeah,
and being drugged up the wall,
right,
and then onto the ceiling,
and then she's being slashed and spinning around, and it's just this like. Holy crap!
You've got blood from her raining down on the boyfriend, which is now awake, trying to figure out what's going on.
Right, and then,
the door's locked. You can't get in the room. You can't get out of the room.
And then later, whenever Glenn, which is Johnny Depp's character, when he gets killed, he falls asleep on the waterbed, and Freddy reaches up through the waterbed and grabs him and pulls him and his stereo
and TV
all down it, and then there's just this gush of blood that comes up from
it's a geyser.
I know, just straight up and onto the ceiling and around.
He basically paints the room in Glenn's blood.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like,
but then the mother comes in to check on him. And she's like, "Where did he go?" And she pulls the blankets off of the bed, and he's inside the waterbed bladder, drowned.
And that's how do you explain that? Like when the cops show up, that's the whole. There are those types, even like with the whole Tina thing, and then how do you explain that? Which is really kind of cool, and that like there's this thing going on that the parents know about, but nobody's talking about it. And
the parents are starting to freak out because they're like, "This is reminiscent of when so and so," but he can't be because we killed him.
Right, exactly, and we'll get. So we find out through the course of it, finally, Nancy confronts her mom.
Right.
And she tells her about Fred Krueger, who was the janitor at the high
Pulls
school.
the articles out and everything. Lays the whole story down.
He was a child murderer. There's been some debate over the years, and I know I have not seen it, but I know in the remake they leaned into that he was a child molester.
I've seen the remake, and I hate it.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate it. And they've made him a full-out molester.
Right. And it's one of those things that, I said, there's been some debate over the years of whether it was one of those things that was initially what they were going to do, but then they pulled back off of it and just like, we'll just make him a child murderer. And that, because it's okay if he kills kids, but we can't have him diddling them, It's like that's a step too far, and it's like, I get it 100%. It's a especially survivors and stuff in the audience, that could be a real problem. So
it's just a friggin' movie,
right?
It's supposed to be a movie to scare you,
right?
Child pedophilia and child molestation is not something that you use.
Yeah, it's
as
not
a
a good time horror
storyline.
Movie type.
No,
I know, and that's it really does go to a much darker place when you get into that. So
it's more than just a darker place. It's it's a sick place.
Yeah. So we find out that he killed several kids,
right,
and that he was arrested,
right,
but then he got off on a technicality.
Yep. And
so the parents said, "We're not."
They went full vigilante mode,
and they found him and they burned him.
Well, they found him at his place of business where he worked in the boiler room,
right?
And they soaked the place in gasoline and
lit it on fire,
burnt it down with him inside.
Yep. And now, all these years later, he is coming back as a dream demon, basically.
Yep.
Which I think we get into in later.
It's either 4 or 5.
Yeah, we'll get there. But yeah, that again,
it's 4.
It's 4. Okay.
It's 4
in the Dream Master.
The Dream Master.
Yeah. So this was like I said, this was a runaway hit in '84, and it kind of came out of nowhere. Small studio, all this kind of stuff. But it's one of those things. Again, I have said many times that you can take this movie and set it apart from the rest of the series,
and it's a good movie.
And it's a good movie.
You don't need the rest of them.
You don't need anything else after that. We especially didn't need 2.
Oh no, 2 was a complete waste of time. 2, you can take 2 and just
2 is
can that movie right now.
2 falls in line with so many other slasher flicks of the 80s. Of you have this one chapter in this story that's completely outside of everything else. You know, you had Friday the 13th Part 5. You know, the new beginning where Jason's not in it at all. You know, it's somebody else who puts on a hockey mask and kills. You have, and I know you, but Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, you know, that doesn't have Michael. It's not Michael Myers centric. It's not Michael Myers centric. Okay,
it's not Michael Myers centric, but it's a good movie.
It is a good movie. I agree. We covered it last year. Go check out our episode. So.
I will admit, it took me some years to come back around to admitting it's a good movie, and it should be included in the rest of it.
Absolutely. And then you had this one where it's you know, hey, or you had Freddy's Revenge. And the only real link this movie has to the other ones is the fact that it's on Elm Street.
It happens on the same town.
It's the same house.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's one of those things where the main character finds Nancy's diary, correct? And and he's reading about it. Yeah. And that's the whole...
That's how Freddy's able to get...
Right. And he does make that, you know, at the end when he busts out of the guy, you know, into the real world at the pool party, and he says, "You're all my children now." And that's the other thing. This has nothing to do with the Elm Street children.
No.
But it's one of those things where he kind of is like, "No, you're all my children now."
But here's what's funny about this one is this movie can basically be a throwaway, but that line from Freddy in that one scene is like one of the most iconic Freddy lines ever. That "You're all my children now."
Oh, what I was going to get back to is that there's that one scene in the first movie where, and I think it's that same like where
Springwood, Ohio. That's the town.
Yeah, we learn about that later.
Of course, it's Ohio.
Of course, makes perfect sense.
Makes perfect sense that it's Ohio. In so many ways.
There's that scene in the first movie, and I think it's right after when he's walking down the alleyway. And Tina says, "Oh God," or something like that, and he puts his glove up next to his face. He's like, "This is God." You know, that's a pretty like bold statement to begin with, but it's one of those things that in Freddy's world it kind of is. It determines whether you live or die. Yeah, you know, that's you know, and it's one of those things that, like I said, with that, and then in the second movie, I will say they were still kind of trying to play, no pun intended, Freddy pretty straight as far as the horror and everything.
Real psycho
It's
killer.
when you get into
three
that we start getting the Freddy of it all, you know, where it's
the wisecracking, the Freddy that everybody has come to love.
Freddy becoming the focus of the movie more than everything. So, Nightmare on Elm Street 3,
Dream Warriors.
The Dream Warriors,
which had an awesome soundtrack completely by Dokken.
There you go. I like the fact that it's a true sequel, and the fact that they bring back Nancy and her dad, and you know, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, so we're gonna.
And he's come back to finish off the children. Of Springwood that he didn't get to in the first one.
Yeah, and they also introduce, I can't remember the name of the drug that like supposed to stop you from dreaming.
It's a Hypnosil or something like that.
Completely fictitious, but you know, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, this is kind of cool. Of course, Nancy now is working with kids, you know, and all this. It's later, you know, and her dad still have a strained relationship because of everything that happened, and
that drug is actually going to become a major storyline plot later in one of the other movies.
One of the unfortunate movies.
That was becomes a major plot point in
5, isn't it?
The Dream Child, isn't it?
Yeah, that's 5.
Yeah, The Dream Child.
A really bad one. It's not really a movie so much as it's a bunch of scenes put together. And it's
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Mm-hmm. But once we get into the Dream Warriors, it's really one of those things that I like the fact that they brought all of these Elm Street kids together.
Right.
Because everybody, oh, they're crazy and blah, blah, blah. But you're finding out, like, no, there is this deep trauma that they've all experienced.
Right.
And it's driven them to different things. One of them's a drug addict. One of them, you know.
One of them cuts themselves.
He has a cutter. It's like.
One of them has extreme rage issues and attacks people.
Right. One of them has, like, extreme sexual urges. And one of them, you know, it's like all this stuff that manifests, you know, trauma can manifest in someone. Someone has like a real like the one girl who I don't want to be on TV. It's like she wants acceptance from everybody. That's the whole thing. She needs attention.
It's almost like a egotistical urge.
It's a what's I can't remember the term for it now. I should know this with all my $10 words and stuff.
Yeah, you should. You should.
Anyway, so
hit PayPal and get you a new word.
There you go. I don't think I got enough money for that right now.
But
you gotta remember, it's the most wonderful time of the year. I have a Halloween budget that I have.
It's not so much a budget as it is an addiction.
Pretty much.
But the fact that they've all been put into this asylum in Springwood, that asylum is going to become also another major plot point.
Yes.
In the rest of the movies,
because
along with the drug.
Where we're starting to get hints at Freddy's backstory of and this is all that we've known prior to this is that he killed some kids, the parents killed him,
right,
and now he's back for revenge, basically
in their dreams.
And
however that's happening,
and that's no one has an explanation for why any of this stuff is happening,
right?
So this is where they start really
digging into the
world
mythology
building in a lot of ways, and so we're introduced to what is her name? Arquette's. Kristen. Patricia Arquette.
Arquette. But we also find out that this is another character that's in this movie that people forget about is Lawrence Fishburne.
Yes.
Back as when he was still going by Larry Fishburne. Yeah.
He plays Max.
One of the orderlies.
It's funny because like he has a line that I still use whenever what's her name? The one girl, I think she tells him to F off or something like that. He goes, "Yeah, I love you too."
Yeah,
I have ever since I use that every once whenever somebody says something like that to me. He's like, "Yeah, I love you too." So it's
nice.
But yeah, and then and we meet all these other children of Elm Street, and this one they really upped the special effects budget on this one.
Yeah, they
quite
did.
a bit.
When he picks that one girl up, he becomes the TV, picks her up,
time, bitch,
and drives her head right into
the television. That was
which happens to be his chest at the time.
Yeah. No, the great one is the puppet with the marionette.
Where he pulls the tendons out of his arms and his legs and walks him off the top of the tower.
And then you've got that where they're looking at the tower and they're all like, of course they can't see him, but Freddy is like standing over him, and then he cuts the strings and he falls to his death. Did you ever the nurse, have you seen the unused stills from that?
No.
Do you not know about this? Okay.
No, I don't know.
If you ever want to ruin your day, so the one kid, the nurse comes in and she starts trying to seduce him, and and she takes her top off. Of course, this is the first movie where there's nudity. In this movie, in this series, and but originally, it's one of those things where it's Freddy and he shoots tongues to tie him to the bed or something whatever. Okay, originally, and of course the dogs are going to start playing now. Hey, it's enough. Originally, she was going to actually morph into
Freddy.
So there are pictures of this woman topless with Freddy's face.
Oh.
Yeah, that they were originally going to put in this film, and then they decided not to.
They should have left it in because that truly would have induced nightmares in people.
Those stills are out there, and like I said, if you ever just want to ruin your day, go and look at them.
I have other people that I have to deal with that do that just fine for me.
Yeah,
thank you.
So,
both of us.
Man, I don't know what's going on. I wonder if this is a candle. But it's one of those that we start learning. Did they actually drop in this one that Freddy's mom?
Well, you actually get.
Is it in this one or is it in the next
one?
one?
The doctor who's actually treating him that Nancy's trying to convince to prescribe the Hypnocil.
Right.
Actually has a run-in with Amanda Kruger in her nun outfit.
That's right.
And she actually draws him over into the closed part of the asylum.
That's right.
Back from when it was a
it was they put
it was a monastery with the asylum built into it.
And it's in 4. So Nancy winds up dying at the end of 3 in the final showdown, and then Kristen makes it over into the next one.
Yeah.
But Patricia Arquette did not. They replaced her. And she's off pretty early on, that it's kind of a... And that's where we also meet... what is her name? Because she's going to come back again. Is it Elaine?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I think it is, because she also is the main character of 5. Alice.
Yeah, there you go.
Alice, not Elaine, sorry.
Oh, Alice down the... I never put that together before.
Down the rabbit hole, yeah. Alice in Wonderland.
That makes sense.
So we meet Alice, and... that's funny.
What? What'd you find?
Well, I'm looking on IMDb, and she's actually not listed.
What?
In 4. That doesn't make any sense, because she is the main character in 5. Is she not?
Alice? I think so.
Yeah. Huh, that's funny. I wonder if... You know what? Yeah, she's in 4 and 5. Okay, maybe they just didn't put her on. Okay, yeah, she's in 4 and 5. Lisa Wilcox plays her. So anyway, so we meet Alice here, and she becomes the protagonist for this movie. And it's one of those things where you start finding out what happened. Like, Freddy comes back in such a strange way. There's a dog that goes into a junkyard and pees fire, and then Freddy comes back, and that's it. It's like, okay. And they also, that they kill off the 2 that made it out of the first movie.
Yeah.
It's
Tommy and the other guy. It was the one that couldn't speak that had the nurse attack him.
Right.
And the other kid that was like the really, really strong, like street fighter.
It was...
They killed those 2 off really quick.
It was...
I can't think of
Kincaid.
the kid. Yeah, Kincaid.
Yeah, and yeah, so they kill them off like very fast, and then they kill Kristen, and we get into the meat of it all, and it's the whole thing. We start finding out that, and it's so okay. So this is something that's always bothered me about this movie.
Yeah, me too.
Okay,
and it's really kind of a cockeyed storyline.
The whole Dream Master thing, like, okay, fine, I get it. We got to go somewhere. So the thing that kills me with this is that they come up with this whole Dream Master, like, oh, there's this rhyme, and all it is the now I'll lay me down to sleep, like the prayer that you teach kids,
Which,
and I'm like,
actually, if you think about it, it does kind of make sense, because it's a modern day prayer, but back in the day when the superstition, all that, it could have come,
but it's just one of the, I was like, just write something new. It's
what they're doing is they're feeding back into the folklore and the folk studies of it all.
So we go through, and there's actually some pretty interesting kills in this one. Again, we get another a waterbed scene with
we get the roach house scene.
The roach house, which is actually a pretty cool. Yeah, when she turns into the roach and and everything, and he, what is it? It's the old, was it the Black Flag commercial? You can check in, but you can't check out, or whatever. Yeah, roaches check in, but they don't check out. Yeah, it's
exactly.
A roach motel thing, and again, it's more quippy. Freddy, he's at the beach.
He's kind of the slasher version of Rodney Dangerfield.
This is the one where they're at the beach, right? Or is that in 5?
At the beach.
Yeah, remember he puts on the glasses, and like his hand is like the shark, like the landslide. It's like coming through the sand.
I think it might have been 5. It might be the Dream Child.
Yeah, but it's one of those like we don't need to be seeing this.
They all tend to run together after you get to 4.
You get to 4. After 4 is kind of, we'll get to it. So Alice winds up beating, Freddy at the end by showing him his reflection. This is where we get the whole...
She didn't just show him his reflection. She shows him who he really is in his reflection.
And we find out that Amanda Kruger was working at this asylum, and she got locked in.
The orderlies were trying to count. It was just a room full of insane.
People who were insane, criminals. They were criminals.
Criminally insane, and they're trying to count the room, and she, as a nun, actually accidentally gets
locked in over the weekend.
And
she was...
Well, even longer than the weekend, because the storyline is they were hiding her from the orderlies so they could keep doing what they were doing.
Doing bad things to her this entire time, which she wound up getting pregnant with Freddy. That's the whole, and that's they term the whole
son of 1,000
bastards. Yeah, I know it's and it's one of those things where it's creepy again.
Yeah,
it's icky, and
very icky.
But that's where this whole dream demon thing starts to kind of come in of, I forget the exact lore that they go into.
Okay, here's
you go ahead since you just watched it recently.
He's born. He obviously has
bad circumstances.
He's obviously not a psychotic, sociopath.
Oh,
major sociopath,
psychopath.
Yeah. He's beating his wife. He's abusing his child. Which we find out, the child is, I think that's over in Dream Child is where we end up meeting her.
Yeah.
His actual daughter.
Right.
Again, he starts into the child murdering while he's got a wife and child. They catch him, and when they burn him while he's dying, he makes a deal with these dream demons.
Right.
They're like, oh, you can keep doing what you're doing. You just got to accept our deal, and
you'll
be able to kill them, from the dream, realm. And
right.
He accepts, and that's where he becomes the dream demon.
Yes.
From that portal.
From that portal, yes.
The Dream Master is supposed to be protecting the other portal.
Exactly, and that's I knew there was like a yin and a yang type
she's
thing.
She's the yang to his yang.
So it's we get through all that. Then we get to 5.
The Dream Child.
So Alice is back. She survived. It's funny because it's one of those things. Nancy survived technically through 3 movies because 2 happens in between the 2, but she's not in it. But we get Nancy. She survives. She makes it to 3, and she dies there. Kristen makes it from 3 to 4. She dies there.
Yep.
Alice makes it from 4 to 5. Alice actually does survive this. She's the only one that makes it through multiple.
She's actually the guy that she's with at the end of 4. She's now very actively
they're
dating.
Living together, aren't they? I think.
No, they're not living together, but they're actively dating.
She finds out she's pregnant.
Right.
So the whole thing here is that all of a sudden Freddy is like getting out of dreams.
Right. Into actual. No. He's not getting out of dreams. He's putting her in a dream state while she's awake.
Right, and the whole explanation is that
since
babies are, like when they're in the womb, are kind of in a dream or in a
sleep
state the entire time, then that's how Freddy is getting in,
right.
Type stuff. Which is an interesting. I'll give that's an interesting take.
Because she's trying to figure out how he's doing it because she's actually on the Hypnosil.
Right. That's right. She's on the Hypnosil, and it's one of those things you're trying to figure out, but it's through the child.
Right.
That's the whole dream child thing.
Right.
And so this movie is such a mess. It has a couple of really good kills in it. The motorcycle thing is just amazing. And what's even better is that the motorcycle kill was actually toned down. If you ever watch, like, there's an extended, like, where they filmed, like, a whole lot more to it that... Of course, by today's standard, is not that big a deal, but they were kind of like back in the day, like, oh, we need to tone this down a little bit. But it's still really cool the way that Freddy becomes the motorcycle, and then he like engulfs himself around, wire. He
basically
and everything,
integrates himself into his kill.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like, they spent a lot of money on that. Unfortunately, they didn't spend any money on the rest of this film, like especially the script.
Wow, he went there.
It's true. I mean, it's this also has the is this the one, or is it Freddy's Dead that has the the cartoon. That's Freddy's Dead, isn't it?
That's Freddy's Dead.
Yeah. That one's actually pretty cool. Also,
a video game. It was a video.
It's a video game. Well, isn't there one where this one where it's one of them's an artist and he's drawing comic books?
It's not a cartoon. It's like
a comic book. Isn't it?
It looks like he's in a live action comic.
That's
book.
what it is.
Yeah.
That one was actually pretty cool too. That was a. Like again, once you get past 4, my memory of these starts really like.
Once you get in
5 and Freddy's Dead,
from
kind of just
4 all the way through Freddy's Dead, they all kind of blend together. And unless you have just recently watched them like yesterday,
I know,
like
Dave did.
Yeah. Well, no, it's been a couple weeks since I watched all.
The whole thing with 5 is that it skirts the line, but really walks right up to commenting on the whole abortion issue. It's like,
oh no, it doesn't skirt the line at all. It goes right up to it, and they give a viewpoint.
They do, and we're not going to get into all of it, but it's just one of those things where it's like, guys, seriously, I just want to watch a horror movie.
It was like they went from horror movie into
politics. I know,
almost comedy horror.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because 3, we're starting to walk the line over into comedy horror with the one-liners and Freddy and all that, and it's like that through 4, and then you get into social commentary.
All right, so
it's like what?
So with 5, correct me if I'm wrong. Don't they change his origin again in 5? Like, there's another tweak to it of. Something is different from 4 to 5 with his mom and the way that it all went down, or something. I'm
later
trying to remember.
on, he ended up killing his mother and basically hid her body in the old
maybe that's what
soul
it was.
asylum. It's a soul asylum.
Soul asylum.
Music episode.
There you go.
The old asylum / monastery.
That's right. And they had to like find her bones or something.
In order to kill Freddy again, they had to find her bones, so that way her spirit was freed to actually go and drag Freddy back
to hell or
to
whatever.
hell or wherever.
Okay, that's what it was. I knew that they had done something. Again, they tweaked, because we're going to get into another tweaked retcon.
An absolutely piece of trash retcon, piece of garbage soap opera that should have never been made.
So in 1989.
No. Let's not get up to that yet. Let's get through the movies,
we're gonna go through
and
the
then
movie.
we'll
I didn't
get
know
to
if we
that.
wanted to put that one in there since it happens between the two.
Well, okay. I mean, we can talk about it. So
in 1989, Freddy Krueger is doing so well that they decided to give him his own television series.
Yep.
And basically, they gave him a horror anthology show called Freddy's Nightmares.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where, by and large, it's a bunch of different. It's just him doing intros to
basically
stories.
It's basically Tales from the Crypt,
something like
with
that.
Freddy doing the intro and the outro, where he's playing the part of the Crypt Keeper.
Except for the very first. Well, there's actually a few of them, but the very first episode, actually dives into how Freddy was, like, his backstory,
right,
and it was directed by Tobe Hooper, who directed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Poltergeist,
who they evidently only gave him they
didn't give him much of a budget at all.
They gave him a soap opera
pretty much
TV set with the soap opera cameras and the soap opera lighting and the soap opera, because this thing is
it's pretty bad.
This thing is straight up guiding light horror movie.
It's pretty bad.
It's terrible.
And it's funny because the structure of the show is that there are 2 stories in every
right
one. And there's usually some kind of little through line between them, like maybe a character crosses over or something like that. This one, I forget what the second, because I gave you the whole episode to watch, but I've only gone back and rewatched the first segment, because it really is one of those things where they show him going to trial,
right,
and then him being released,
technicality, and they release him right into the crowd,
right in the middle of the courtroom.
Take the chains off, and I don't think it was actually Robert Englund.
They never show his face. I don't think the
actor that was playing Freddy, the live Freddy or the dead Freddy, was even Robert Englund. I think Robert Englund was literally there to do the intro, the outro, and then they got some poor schlub to play the part.
I don't know. I think it actually is Robert Englund in the Freddy makeup, but it's not him as pre-dead Freddy. You know, it's because they never show his face. All they show is like his mouth, you know, or his eyes or something like that.
You get a shot of an ear, or you get like the eyes and everything's in silhouette, or you get like the ugly smile.
Yeah, right. And you know, when they show him being burned alive, you know, and it's one of those things where it's like, this is not exactly the way it happened in the movies.
This is not right. This is a piece of garbage.
But I also understand this was it's television budget. They're trying to do some kind of connection to get people to watch.
They had to way tone it down because it's on TV.
So Alice survived 5.
Yes.
And then all right, hold on. Let me look this up before. Okay, so A Nightmare on Elm Street 5 was released in 89, which Freddy's Nightmare was also that. So Freddy's Dead, the Final Nightmare was released in 91, so it's 2 years later. Okay,
right.
The funny thing about it is the movie actually takes place in 94. I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll take your word for it.
The film takes place years. Okay, it says I think it's like 5 years later, like after the Dream Child.
Right.
So it takes place in like 1994. And, of course, this was released in 91. And I understand what they were trying to do. Okay? Hey, we're gonna do this Final Nightmare. Let's kind of pull all the stops out.
Right.
They got Johnny Depp to come back. He does. Do you know the story about that?
No.
Okay, when they decided to do it, was Wes Craven actually... I think Wes Craven actually did this movie, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look before I say that. Well, shoot.
Bang.
No, it wasn't. Rachel Talale. So it wasn't.
This is one where
Wes Craven was a writer.
Yeah. And if I remember right, this is the one where they bring in Freddy's daughter to finally kill off Freddy.
Yeah, and so it's a weird, like... Anyway, the whole Johnny Depp, by this point, Johnny Depp had become a star.
Yep.
You know, this is 21 Jump Street, and, you know, he was a much bigger star, you know, that kind of stuff. And so they were like, I don't think we can get him to come back for this, you know, so this being the last one. But then when he found out, I think the story goes, when he found out they were making this movie and it was supposed to be the final one, he contacted them and was like, hey, I would love to come back and do something for this, you know, and so that's why he's doing the, you know, this is your brain on drugs commercial on the television, you know. It's like, oh, it's cool they got him back for that, you know, even if it's just this one thing. Roseanne and Tom Arnold are in this movie.
Yes, they are.
As parents that lost their kids, you know, and stuff. And it's this whole thing where, like, Springdale is... There are no children. Springwood, sorry. There are no children. It's one of those things where it's like, you know... That's this whole thing.
Freddy's killed the entire town.
Yeah, you know, and so when these kids show up, they're like, "Oh, you can come live with us, and we'll hide you, and we'll make sure nothing bad happens this time." You know, and you know all this stuff. And
town's gone completely bonkers.
And so it's kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, I get this. I like how frenetic this movie is. Of where it is, it's just chaos. The whole town's chaos. The whole like. But that doesn't make a good movie.
It's like the whole town has now been sucked into this dream bubble.
Yes.
And Freddy can interact with any of them at any given point he wants to.
There's some good stuff, and then there's Freddy doing the Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah.
And you know, like I said, the video game.
That was actually
pretty cool. You know, that was actually shot in 3D. Like that was a whole thing. It was in 3D in theaters, and like actually when the DVDs and stuff came out, it came with like the 3D glasses to, you know. But it's just for that one scene towards the end, you know.
Yeah.
And it has like one of the worst last lines of, you know, Freddy's dead, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got to pull the title of the movie in somehow.
I know, but it is one of those things that, like I said, it's kind of a mess. But it is what it is. Okay. We got 3 more things to talk about here. Okay?
Yeah.
The next time we see something with Freddy is in 1993.
Yeah.
For one little scene, the very end of another movie called Jason Goes to Hell.
Friday the 13th, part 143.
9, I think, is what it was at that point. But at the end of it, whenever Jason is pulled to hell, literally, the very last scene, you see his hockey mask laying in the dirt.
Right.
And all of a sudden, Freddy's arm and glove, like with gloved hand, comes up out of it and grabs the mask and pulls it down into the ground.
And then you get Freddy's laugh.
Yeah. And that's it. And it's like, that's interesting. This is something we always wanted to see. It would be a while before we saw it. In between the two, in 1994, or the next year in 1994, Wes Craven came back to the franchise. And, they were like, okay, look, this isn't the 80s any longer. We got to do something here, And you can draw a direct line from this movie to Scream.
Oh no, let's get into it
because of the meta in this.
This is where I was going to go with this. And when this movie first came out and I saw it, I hated it. Like, it was a ferocious hate.
It was not one of my. I was like, I don't get this
complete turd.
It was seeing it either the second or third time years later that I was like, oh, actually, I get this. I get this. This is interesting.
Once again, this is like Halloween 3. This is something that I had to come back around to after I had, been away from it for a while. And I'm like, no, wait a minute. Okay, I see the direct line to Scream on this and how they're getting very meta with this movie. The other thing, the mythology of it, of, the reason Freddy's
kind of a tulpa of this evil.
Right.
And like every time he comes back, he's more sinister. He's supposed to be more sinister.
And the thing about it is that he's actually been in Wes Craven's dream.
Right.
That's where Wes was getting the storyline for all of these movies. And as long as the story was being read or being written about this source of evil, it could actually manifest itself.
And it's really interesting because it's one of those things where like they bring back Heather Langenkamp and John Saxon, and they all play themselves.
Yes.
That's this whole thing where like you see her on a talk show at the very first, and she's like, oh, and then all of a sudden Freddy comes out at the end, but it's actually Robert Englund, and he's like, oh, well, they didn't tell you, and they show them talking backstage. She's like, it's so good to see you, and they didn't tell me you were coming. He's like, yeah, we want it to be a surprise, and blah, blah, blah. But she's having these dreams of this new Freddy that's darker,
more evil, more sinister.
And so she's talking to Wes Craven about this, and who is wanting to reboot
Freddy,
the franchise, and her husband is the special effects guy, that was working on this, and he's trying to get her to come back, and she doesn't really want to, and she's a mom now, and all this kind of stuff, and it's an interesting. It's really an interesting narrative,
and basically because of these movies and the way Wes was writing these movies, that source of evil had kind of gotten to liking being Freddy.
Yes,
and as long as the stories were being told, he was relegated to the movies. He could not leave. He was kind of trapped because the power was in the story being told and the storyteller telling the story. But because there weren't any new Freddy stories being told, this evil was now allowed to go free and actually come out of the movies into our world.
One of my favorite scenes in this is when she calls Robert Englund.
Right.
And he's painting. And she's like, and you see him and he's working, and she's like, have you been having dreams about Freddy, whatever? And he starts, he's like, yeah, I have, and that's where, it's a darker, it's not the same Freddy that I played. It's a darker blah, blah, blah. And it pans around and you see that he's painting this new Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
It's got, he does have new makeup, it's a new, it's a whole different version of Freddy Krueger that's a much realer and darker and more sinister
burned
and just and it's
flesh melted,
and and again this has a really, that scene with where they have the prop hand that
the mechanical Freddy,
and then it kills her, it kills her husband, but it's that hand coming alive is pretty good,
and it's not 4 fingers
it's all
anymore.
5 of them
it's
now.
all 5 of them have the claw,
and I'll admit I really like the movie up until the end of it. The ending is a little
where she's basically pulled into the movie and she's having to be the character for the movie and act it out.
If I'm not mistaken, isn't Freddy trying to like possess her son or something? Like there's something to do with her kid. Like he's involved with. Like I said, it's been a little while, but I remember like it just kind of ends. Like everything's okay now.
Well, no,
it's
because
a weird,
No, because what happens is because it's once again goes back to telling the story and keeping Freddy or that source of evil trapped within the story.
Right.
Is because she agrees to come back to play that part again. There's going to be a new Nightmare on Elm Street film being made.
That's what it is. So therefore, it keeps him contained.
So therefore, there are going to be new Freddy stories being told, which will then trap him back into the stories.
Which in the real world doesn't actually happen for a while.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you can see.
But again, just looking at the meta of it all.
There were some really good ideas here that did not come to fruition fully, in my opinion. But they all got transferred over into his next series with Scream.
Yes, very much. Like I said, especially all the meta narrative that's in this. And you got to remember that this movie was released in '94. Scream was released in '96.
Yeah.
So you can kind of look at, he was working on this thing. It's like, well, what if we took all this and put it into something else?
Yeah.
And we got the Scream series because of it, thankfully. That's pretty cool.
And frankly, in those movies, the storyteller in that is Randy.
That's true.
If you really think about it,
he shows up in all of them.
The sage storyteller that's kind of
sets the rules.
And all that. It's all Randy.
That's true. Okay, so the last thing that we have to talk about is 2000 and what year was this? 3?
Something
2003's Freddy versus Jason.
And they did this because everybody was begging for it.
This had been in development for years.
They did it as a fun romp and to hack everybody off because it is not that great of a movie.
This movie, okay, I have gone back and forth on this movie so many times, and the best thing that I've heard about this recently that I can agree with.
Okay.
This is a pretty good Friday the 13th movie. It's a bad Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Yes, it is. So once again, following the storyline of A New Nightmare, Freddy can't get out of his world anymore because nobody remembers who he is. Right. So he has got to either scare people into remembering who he was, or convince people he's back.
Right.
So he finds Jason in hell.
Right. Which, it's an interesting plot of, wait a second, Jason's undead.
Yes.
So that means that he doesn't... I'm trying. You have to help me out with this. I think it's the whole thing is he's using Jason because he's undead. It means that he lives in neither the real world or the dream world. He's kind of a conduit between the two.
Right. And when he wakes him up, the body is still there. The body is basically laying in the woods, becoming part of a tree.
Right.
And Freddy wakes him up and gets that body reanimated and gets him back in his body.
And it's an interesting idea. It really is, and it's just the execution is not very good, and the whole... They could have done so much with this. That's all I can say. No, they could have done so much with this. And again, it's not a bad movie. It's just not a good movie. It's and it also has the problem of there's something that happens in the trailer that's not in the movie that's kind of iconic.
Yeah.
Whenever the character, what's the character's name? It's Monica Keena. It's Laurie Campbell's her character. When she says in the trailer, it's this whole, she's like, Freddy versus Jason, place your bets. That line's not in the movie. That's like, it's like, no, that kind of sold that movie. That line in the trailer really sold that movie, and then it's not there, and it's just like, okay, yes.
Let's see. I'm trying to. Okay, now here's the part that makes this really hard to because he wakes Jason up to send him to Springwood, Ohio, to kill people, to get, to where he can re-enter the world and start attacking people. The problem is that means Jason had to travel from Camp Crystal Lake
in New Jersey,
which is Cunningham County in New Jersey. So Jason walked across country to Ohio.
It's not that far.
From Jersey to
Ohio. I mean, it's not like you walk from California to Ohio.
Well,
I mean, that's
true. But still, somebody's not going to notice a hulking 8-foot monster with a hockey mask, half decomposed with a machete.
I agree with that.
Okay, I understand there's a lot of wasteland between New Jersey and Ohio to get there that he could, easily traveled across, but come on.
I mean, you're looking at, Where is... You got to go across Pennsylvania. That's basically all you got to do.
Like I said, wasteland between Jersey and Ohio.
If you walk through Pittsburgh, nobody would notice. Come on.
I'm going to get some real hate on that one.
Yeah,
sorry, guys.
Whatever. It's
especially from one of my neighbors if he listens. Sorry,
but
Jared.
Can't help the Pittsburghs. Anyway, and they have crap professional football, crap professional sports teams.
Well, that's enough out of you, Cowboys fan.
I just hate the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, because you're a Cowboys fan. Nobody hates the Pittsburgh Steelers.
No, that's not true. Titans, we're not real good big fans of them either.
Well,
and that goes back to the Oilers thing.
That goes back to the Oilers thing.
I hate the Penguins.
Well, everybody hates the Penguins. Let's not going to lie. Everybody hates the Penguins like they hate the Jersey Devils. So, yeah, I said it.
Yeah, but not as much as we all hate the Detroit Red Wings. So that's
well, everybody in hockey hates the Detroit.
You're in hockey talk now, so it's
everybody hates the Detroit Wings.
Not as much as the Chicago Blackhawks.
Hey, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
I'm glad they're in the dump now. Got tired of that.
Now I've been with the Predators since day one. I really have. I sent my Blackhawk stuff back to a buddy of mine in Chicago. But
it's perfect that we're talking about this as Jason wears a hockey mask.
Yeah,
so this
exactly.
is all relevant.
Yeah, this is all relevant. But, I lived in Illinois when, boys build their sports allegiances. And
I know.
Living right in the middle of the state, I got to pick and choose who was St. Louis Cardinals, Chicago Bears football, Blackhawks hockey. Because let's admit it, St. Louis at the time, their hockey team sucked.
The Blues were not good for a long time. So a long time.
But it's funny because I've kind of become an ambassador between my friends that are Blackhawks fan and my friends that are Predators fan.
Well, it's that whole
because
thing.
They'll come down for a Predators game and we'll meet up with my friends that are Predators fan. I'll introduce them. I'm like, see, you people are human too.
That was the thing that for the longest time, Detroit was like the thorn in the side of the Predators, and then it was the Blackhawks after that. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it makes perfect, Well, and as far as the New Jersey Devils go. Screw them for what they did prior to us having the Predators, where they basically used the city of Nashville to get a new deal.
That's exactly why I hate them, and especially the crap that the fans were saying about us when we were getting ready to buy their little.
Don't know anything about hockey.
Oh, they were flat out referring to us as inbreds and hillbillies and all of that.
And so I got no love for any of them.
So I'm glad Jason is in your state because he's killing your people.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's Jersey. So.
Yeah. So back to Freddy versus Jason.
So we get the whole Freddy versus Jason, and my dogs all of a sudden decide they got to have all my attention. So because it still isn't cool enough for us to get back into our studio.
Oh, I know. Here it is, October 1st, and it's still 85 degrees outside.
Well, it's supposed to cool off here pretty soon. So.
Oh, I hope so.
Anyway, so yeah, Jason, Freddy versus Jason just did not.
There was some very good possibility. There was
the way that it ended though, with Jason walking across the swamp, basically with Freddy's head in his hand, and Freddy like looking at the camera.
It just flat out breaks the fourth wall and winks at the camera.
I know, and it's like, okay, fine, we could come back to this maybe.
Yeah.
And we never did, and I don't really think we need to. Unfortunately, we did get that remake, and
the remake is terrible.
And
if you are on Netflix and you're looking for Nightmare on Elm Street, don't watch this remake.
No,
it is not worth your time.
And again,
it is a piece of garbage.
When they which I didn't want to see a remake of it to begin with, but when they announced that Jackie Earle Haley was going to play Freddy Krueger, I was like, I can see that. Like, he's done some.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Little Children?
No.
You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. He was Oscar nominated for that. This is like pre Watchmen.
Okay.
And he was Oscar nominated for it, and in that movie, he plays a convicted pedophile. And it's one of those things where...
Oh, so that's why they cast him in that.
It's an interesting
piece
movie
of garbage.
Because he actually brings some humanity to that character. Like, you know, it's one of those things that he was convicted and he went to jail and he's back out. And of course, you know, everybody knows, and so he can't do anything.
Yeah,
you know, and
registry.
Yeah, you know, but it's one of those. He was, and I'm not sympathizing with him. It's one of those things that he played that role very well. You know, and it was like, okay, cool. He was great in Watchmen. You know, and so it was like, okay. And of course, you know, I remember him from, you know, the Bad News Bears and Breaking Away and a bunch of, you know, stuff like that when he was younger. So it's like, no, he's a really good actor. And I can see him playing this role, like really getting into it and
doing a good job. The problem is that the writing and the directing and the whole direction that they took that film was complete and utter garbage.
I saw the first trailer, and you got that iconic from the original,
right,
where she's laying in bed and like Freddy, like basically like comes out of the wall, like he's like in the and in the original it's a practical effect where he's like leaning against.
Well, basically they built a frame with a very elastic material,
right?
That looks like a wall,
right?
And so when he leans across it, the material actually stretches out like he's stretching the wall out,
right? Which is an awesome effect.
Right.
In the remake, in the trailer,
CGI.
when it was all CGI, I was like, I'm never seeing this, because they took everything good out of that scene.
Yep.
And where it was something that's like, ooh, that's kind of freaky too. Oh, dude, that's just bad CGI. Is
yep.
all that is, you know. It's
yep.
And so I was never going to see the movie, regardless of Jackie Earle Haley. But everyone that I've ever talked to who's seen it has said that it's complete garbage.
I wanted to love it. I wanted a reboot. I wanted somebody to take the mantle and run with it, so we would get a bunch of new stories.
I will go to bat for the remake of Friday the 13th. Of enjoying it, like it's an enjoyable movie.
It's an enjoyable movie, but it doesn't hold up. I feel to the rest of them.
It's not really a remake of the first Friday the 13th. It's a remake of the first like 4 Friday the 13th movies. You know, which I'm fine with, because it was kind of like, okay, we'll take the best parts of all these and just throw it into one. And it's something different. I don't think it's better than the originals.
It felt rushed.
I really liked it. So.
It felt rushed. It felt like they left some really key parts out of it for me. It seemed like they were trying to take Jared Padalecki, and because he'd already been doing Supernatural for how many years at that point, which I love that show. Don't get me wrong. I was with that show since day one. I loved that show, but it seemed like they were trying to do get him over into something else, and get him over into major horror movie territory.
Right.
And you know, he's a good actor. He does good work. It just was not a good fit.
Right. So anyway, that's our rundown of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies that we originally were only going to just do the first one, and somehow we just covered all of them.
Well, because you
kind of have to. You know, the thing that I've said with the Friday the 13th, with the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, you know, the whole Freddy Krueger, and you talk to people and you say a Nightmare on Elm Street, and they start talking about stuff that happened in like 3. Okay,
right.
It's the same thing that I always talk about Rocky. When you talk about Rocky, and people are like, oh, I love Rocky, you know, Ivan Drago and this ball. It's like, no. See, you're completely forgetting that like Rocky won an Academy Award because it's a completely different movie than what Rocky became.
Right.
You know, it's like everybody, when they talk about, oh, Rocky's so great, they're thinking about 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, well, not 5, but 2, 3, and 4. Let's be honest.
When you're talking about Rocky, you're talking about Rocky versus Ivan Drago,
or you're talking about Rocky 3, the whole Mr. T, the what's the guy's name? But those 2 movies especially like became what people think of as Rocky. It's kind of the same thing with Rambo.
Yeah.
People forget The First Blood was a serious movie.
No, it's a very serious movie.
About PTSD.
It was based off of a book that had been written.
And then, but everybody, when that character comes up, they think of 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And 4 and 5 now.
And let's be honest, the first one is actually the good one.
It is a good movie. It is a good movie.
It's a good movie.
Well, I really enjoyed Rambo, the one that came out in 2008.
Oh, no, that's a good one.
I like that because it's so over the top.
Well, you're talking about old man Rambo.
Yeah.
The guy who's just trying to move out into the desert and live. But you see...
Oh, wait a second. No, you're talking about something. You're talking about a different movie than I am.
No, Final Blood.
I'm not talking about, I haven't seen that one. I'm talking about the one that came out in 2008.
Okay.
When he brought it back where he's in Burma or wherever it is.
Oh, no.
And I love that movie because it's just so over the top.
The two of those movies that I really enjoy is the first one, First Blood,
mm-hmm.
and Last Blood. Mm-hmm. Because you can see this as, that guy, was just wanting to be left alone.
Right.
He was just trying to get somewhere to where he could be left alone. He's finally gotten somewhere where he can be left alone. He's got his farm, and he's got some people that have obviously worked very hard to befriend him, and bad things happen, and he goes after him.
Right.
And you see the completion of his PTSD and his survivalism and his prepper tendencies and all of this, that in case something goes bad, and of course it does.
Yeah. I'll tell you, also, we're completely off topic here.
As
far as the Rocky movies, the Creed movies
are
really good.
I love the Creed movies.
Like that. Those are like, no, dude, this is good.
That feels,
yeah.
Rocky 1 and 2
mm-hmm.
are really the serious,
right,
and part of 3.
Part of it,
because that's the Ivan Drago.
No, that's 4. 3 is Mr. T. It's
forget T.
Clubber Lang. Yeah.
The
4 is when he's fighting Drago. And that's where Apollo Creed gets killed. And
the movies where he's dealing that relationship building between Rocky and Apollo Creed.
Right.
Those are the good movies.
That's 1, 2, 3, and the first part of 4.
Yeah. Forget the rest of them, but then you get to the Creed movies where he's become.
Rocky Balboa's not bad.
Balboa's not bad.
That's not bad. Now 5 is trash. That movie is just terrible.
Oh, it's awful.
And but then you get into the Creed movies.
Tommy Gunn, I'm gonna fight you in the street.
Yeah, it's dumb. So anyway, now that we've completely veered off, of course, because that's what we do on this show. Go and look at the show notes, and you will find links to our Instagram and our Discord and our Facebook, and you can
YouTube.
Yeah, all that stuff. We'll have some stuff up there. I'll put some supplemental material on YouTube for you. Trailers, and that episode of Freddy's Nightmare is available on YouTube to watch. So
don't even bother. It's awful.
If
you want soap opera of Freddy,
it's pretty rough. So, but at least it's there for if you want.
I kept waiting for Marlena and her demon possessed self to show up. Yeah.
Which Roman? Is it Roman or is it John Black? It's like
well, John Black, of course.
Anyway, so guys, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Alan Smith.
I'm the other guy, Big Dave.
We'll see you next. I cannot believe we just talked about Days of Our Lives.
See ya.